up to the line. The safety cars already peeled into the pit lane, and 40 minutes of action are underway here at Donington Park, and it's a good start by Jonathan Evans from pole position, also by Christian Douglas in the TVR. That's up into second place already at the expense of James Coleman's Porsche Cayman. So as they turn their way into Redgate Corner for the first time with these cars all mixed together, the Porsches and the V8s and sports racing cars all mixed together into one eclectic group. And it's Jonathan Evans, number 36 then, that has the lead as they head down the Craner curves for the first time towards the old hairpin. Already he's pulling out a bit of a lead over the new second place man, because that's James Coleman that's gone back up into second spot there in the Cayman. Looks like everyone is making it pretty safely through the old hairpin for the first time and off up towards McLean's, Josh.
Yeah, the TVR, in fact, is Matt Holborn. We didn't get Christian Douglas started, so it's Matt Holborn there in third place. You see there, just ahead of Adam Southgate. So the V8 engine car got off the grid very well indeed. There's Marcus Bicknell in the AS car, and then the rest of the field flow their way up in towards Coppice Corner. You can really see the elevation change to Donington Park as they turn their way into Coppice for the first time, and then they will accelerate down the straight. And you can see the power of Matt Holborn's TVR trying to challenge James Coleman again there into second place. Couldn't quite do it. There's three Porsches there trying to go abreast into the corner. You've got Matthew Cole-Henny in that battle, who I think is going to be racing in the Porsche Sprint Challenge this year. The header challenge into the hairpin. Marcus Bicknell loses the place. You'd imagine over 40 minutes the big V8 cars might struggle with their brakes as the race goes on, and that might help the Porsches out in the overall battle. It's 33 that brakes late on the outside line. That's Andrew Porter, but Marcus Bicknell brakes later, and it's a big old car there to get stopped, and he just about did it and actually stayed ahead in that battle of Andrew Porter. They come up across the line to complete the first lap of this 40-minute motor race.
Yeah, and that's the 46 car from towards the back of the field. Stuart Entwistle off on the grass at the Melbourne hairpin. There is the 22 car of Marcus Bicknell that started the race in 7th, up to 5th place at the end of lap number 1. And going with him is the number 39 car, which is Cheng Lim, and he's sharing that car with Phil James this weekend. They're just ahead of that Porsche, and an array of cars behind them. As we watch this battle going on then, that is the 147 car of James Coleman, already 2.8 seconds behind Jonathan Evans, who's in the lead of this race. There's Marcus Bicknell, number 22, climbing up the hill towards Coppice Corner, and he's got the Cobra replica, a long-time Cobra proponent, Cheng Lim, behind him. Here's the fight for second place though.
And a change, because Matt Holborn's used his V8-powered TVR to go ahead of James Coleman. James Coleman, seemingly at the start of this race, unable to go with the pace of Jonathan Evans, who was only a few tenths slower than in qualifying, but now Coleman under pressure from Adam Southgate in the Boxster, who tries to find a way through the inside. There's no way past there. James Coleman did race a Boxster in the past, I think, against Adam Southgate, so they know each other well, but now they're Southgate still in the Boxster. He's trying to get himself ahead of the Cayman, which probably should be a quicker car, but he goes ahead of Coleman into the hairpin there, into third position. But getting away from all of them is Jonathan Evans. Here's second place man Matt Holborn, 5.7 seconds behind. In third is Adam Southgate. And I wonder if there's a problem with the Cayman of James Coleman, because he just doesn't seem to have the speed that he should do, Ian.
No, not at all. He was only half a second off the pace of Jonathan Evans in qualifying this morning, when in the space of 2 laps already nearly 6 seconds behind Evans, so he's not living up to the pace that he showed this morning, that's for sure. There's Bicknell with Andrew Porter just behind him. Then Martin Reynolds it is, I think, next in the number 27 car.
Noticed now that Cheng Lim's got ahead of Marcus Bicknell, he's really pulled away, and he's lapping quicker than everybody apart from Jonathan Evans. So look out for the Cobra shared between Cheng Lim and Phil James in this race. Both quick drivers. The car behind them there, you can see, is Marcus Bicknell pretending to be Joey Logano. There's the Cobra then to watch, just in front of Cheng Lim. He's in 5th currently, but he's catching the 3 cars in front.
Yeah, there goes the rumbling Joey Logano lookalike car. Here comes the car that we're talking about, Cheng Lim, Phil James chasing after James Coleman there, who's in 4th position, but probably not as good on the brakes as the Porsche, it would seem, and just loses a little bit of ground through the Fox GSs, but in the straight line it's going to be more of a match. They come down now to the Melbourne hairpin, and I think yeah, the Porsche holds on there as we focus on Marcus Bicknell and Andrew Porter just behind him in 6th and 7th positions, climbing back up out of the hairpin. There is the number 39 car once again, turning its way through Goddard's and back onto the Wheatcroft Straight. See cars stretching off in the distance up into the Exhibition Straight and Coppice Corner in the background there from our camera positioned at Redgate Corner. Now here comes Marcus Bicknell. Is he going to be able to get a move on James Coleman into turn 1 at Redgate Corner at the start of lap number 4? The answer is yes, he has, and he's through into 4th position.
Yeah, so James Coleman just losing positions, isn't he? So is something not right with that car. He's lapping in 1 minute 52, where he was 7 seconds quicker in qualifying this morning. So real shame for him. Meanwhile, Jonathan Evans is the fastest lap of the race, at 1 minute 45.853 to lead by 6 seconds over Matt Holborn. Here's the Corvette of Adam Kodos trying to get down the inside of the Porsche there of Stuart Ings, the 944 that hangs on ahead of the Corvette for now, but that car's got a bit more grunt in the straight line, and what, 60 years old that Corvette now as well, so great to see it out here. And Adam Kodos, a real supporter of the series as well. There's Matt Carl Henney. How's he getting on? He's in 17th position, son of Peter, who races in the Porsche Carrera Cup. Another of the classic Porsches making their way up into McLean's here. That's 56, I think, which is Tom McHugh's Porsche 944 Series 2. And there's one of the Tuscans that we were mentioning earlier. So as we've been saying throughout this race, such a great mix of cars, and therefore they perform in very different ways. So you get yourself involved in a battle, you'll be quicker in one part of the circuit, but your competitor will be quicker in a different part of the circuit. And there is where the TVR is good and making up a position, but then going a bit wide was Clive Leatherby's Tuscan, went through the gravel, so that means the Porsche comes back at him down into the hairpin. So Tom McHugh will make his way back down the inside. Yeah, and that's in the lower half of the top 20. That battle is being undertaken. Jonathan Evans at the end of lap 4 with 32.5 minutes still to go leads by 6.7 seconds in car 36 from 56. Matt Holborn, 45 Adam Southgate is 3rd, 39 Cheng Lim and Phil James in 4th, 22 Marcus Bicknell and 6.33 Andrew Porter, as two of them have tangled there, and that's the Porsche and of course the Adam Kodos Corvette. The Porsche that was involved was which one? Ings.
Yeah,
Stuart Ings,
right.
I think 23.
Yeah, in the 944 S2, yeah, 23 car. So he sort of got pushed wide, but at least he's got back onto the circuit. I think it was probably Kodos having a problem of his own, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we were talking about brakes on the older cars, racing against the Porsches that can brake later. I don't know if that just caught him out there. Real shame to see the Corvette out of the race. Adam Kodos, and have we lost James Coleman as well in the Porsche? Yes, that hasn't come through either. But up to that point, everyone was running who had started. There is 39, which is a Porsche. Is it Rob Hardy's car, I think? Yeah. Making his way through. 139, that should be. He's in 13th.
There's the 56 car, 156, I think it now is, which is the McHugh car, Tom McHugh. Chasing after that, TVR Tuscan down towards the left-hander at the Fog TS's left and right-hander.
Matt Holborn in second has just done the fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 45.008. So the TVR Tuscan is catching the leading Porsche. The gap is 5 seconds, and we're still 3/4 of the race to go. We may well see a bit of a battle to see if a Porsche or a V8 will come out on top.
The spinner we just saw there at the Melbourne hairpin was number 16, which was Lee Bowden in the Boxster S, and that's just dropped him out of the top 10 now, I think, because he's got going once again. And after that minor delay, 30 minutes of the race left to go. Another 5 minutes, and the pit lane window will be open. As we're watching here,
James Coleman is still going, by the way. It's a transponder issue for him. He's in 6th.
Okay, yeah. So that's good news as far as he's concerned. That's the 16 car then, the car that had that spin at the Melbourne hairpin, and just now ahead of the 139 car, which is Rob Hardy's Boxster S, the man from Tadley. And the 774 car, that's Martin Glennie's TVR Camara. We briefly saw as well, the orange car. So up to McLean's they go. One lap, 6 of their 40-minute race here around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. Pit stops to come, which will no doubt shake things up somewhat. The fastest drivers within each class of the Porsches do have to make a slightly longer stop as well to penalise them. Adam Kodosh has made it into the pit lane now. Looks like he's out of the race, unfortunately. The team just checking what's going on, but I suspect he'll be pulling into Parc Fermé to complete his race, I'm afraid.
Not sure if the team guy was saying the car's actually not too bad. And the Corvette's going back out onto circuit, I think, so that's good news for Adam. And the Corvette is back on circuit, so as you can see in the inset there. So it might be a few laps down, but we get to admire that car for a bit longer.
Certainly do. As for the leads, Holborn has continued to just nibble away at the lead of Jonathan Evans. It's down to 4.9 seconds now. Holborn was about a tenth of a second faster on the previous lap. He's still got the fastest lap of the race as well at 1:45.008. There's another TVR though, which is the Camara of Martin Glennie, 774 car, I should say.
I think this is probably the most TVRs we got together since the anniversary meeting at Castle Combe a few years ago.
Yeah, that's true. We had a good number
see
there.
them all out.
Of course,
the Cobras together here, so we've got 3 of them out, and 2 of them have got themselves together. That was Andy Lambert ahead of the car of who? That's for 24th. It's Rob Frost in the other Cobra. Sideways MGB, making its way out of Redgate.
Smoky MGB as well in the form of Peter Carter.
Yeah.
I wonder if those two facts might be connected.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that all on his own tyres? And Craner curves in the next corner is not ideal, really, is it?
No.
If that's the issue for him. Well, he's still there, so that's good. He's down the Craner curves, okay. Race leaders will be into lap traffic now, and the gap continues to come down. 3.8 seconds it is between Evans and Holborn. And then Adam Southgate in 3rd is being closed in by Cheng Lim. But there we've got Cobra and MG together. So the MG is Peter Samuels in what is 26th position. And looking up to the Melbourne Loop, you can see the Stuart Entwistle Chevrolet NASCAR going down a lap, I think, because he's running at the back in 34th position, but good to see it here. So, and as Kodosh has got back out, all 35 starters are still running, and there is the race leader.
Absolutely right, and he is now 4 seconds clear, so the gap has come down from what it was a couple of laps ago, certainly, but he's now into the traffic as well. This Cayman, of course, dropping down the hill towards the Melbourne hairpin. He has got probably one more lap where he'll have to pass the pits before the pit lane window opens, because that will open 15 minutes into the race. We are just about 14 minutes into the race as things stand, which is still being led by this man, Jonathan Evans. 1:36, 3.874 seconds clear of Matt Holborn in the TVR.
Jonathan Evans was a winner here at this meeting 5 years ago in Club Enduro in a 968. So I think the first 2-hour Club Enduro race we had, Jonathan Evans was the winner of that. So we've seen him racing the 750 Motor Club before. It's good to see him back this weekend, and he's continuing to be chased by Matt Holborn. The gap down to 3.6 seconds, and with traffic aplenty to deal with, be interesting to see which car is better and which driver is better at dealing with it. Like down the inside of the TVR driven by Daniel Birch there into the old hairpin for Evans, and Matt Holborn will have to deal with him in a corner or so's time.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to see how that pans out. Still smoking that car, isn't it? That MGB, and I would think the officials will be having a look at that and seeing whether that driver in that car should be getting the black flag with the orange spot to warn the driver there's a problem with the car and he should call into the pits to get that seen to. There's one car in the pits though, Josh.
Now that's Martin Reynolds, who was 11th and going well. So he's the first of our compulsory stoppers, and the pit window will be open for the next 10 minutes, where the rest of the field will have to make their way in. And there's a small number of drivers which will be changing over during that pit stop window. Jonathan Evans, the leader, is not one of those, so it's working out when a good time is to stop. Probably if you see there's a lot of traffic about to come up, you'd think that is maybe a time. There's the smoky MG GT V8 of Peter Carter. And behind him, Jonathan Evans saw all this traffic and has pitted. So the race leader peels into the pits, which will mean Matt Holborn in the TVR will become the second leader of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do now have less than 25 minutes to go to the pit stops. Window is open. It looks like, I think that's Cheng Limmer can see out on the pit wall there outside, which indicates it must be Phil James that's in the fourth place car. At the moment, that'll become the third place car, and one of the TVRs in as well, it would seem. So this pit window open for 15 minutes.
That's Bill Thompson's Tuscan that we can see there. He was in 21st position ahead of stopping.
Looks like Martin Reynolds is heading back out. Now, Jonathan Evans will be one of these drivers that's got an additional, effectively, penalty to serve, because he was fastest in qualifying within his class. And you can see the team member showing him the countdown on the smartphone there as to how long he's got to go. So that's a good way of doing it, just to make sure that they don't stop too short and therefore incur a penalty, which might cost him victory, because that'd be frustrating. We've seen that happen before though. So that's the Q car, I think, going in.
You could see the African Revival logos on Evans's car. It's a charity that he's supporting over the course of his racing this year. There you can see the Corvette has got a bit of damage, hasn't it? The front doesn't look as it should have done. It should do, but Kodosh is bearing with it and is continuing on, down in 35th position. He's lapping a few seconds off what he was earlier, and he's about to be passed down the Grainer curves.
Yep, he is indeed. So got the window out to indicate to the Porsche driver that he should go through. There's that 66 Cobra and the 87 MGB that we see there. Is Peter Samuels, long-time racer in that car.
It is a long penalty, isn't it, for Jonathan Evans?
It is.
He's only getting
out he goes
now.
Yeah, the basic stop is 90 seconds, isn't it? So normally it would be 60 seconds. There's an extra 30 seconds at the moment to allow for sanitisation of the car's touch points for the cars that have multiple drivers, which Jonathan Evans doesn't.
So this should allow Matt Holborn to go through, shouldn't it? Because he won't have a penalty being in the Bernie's V8s part of the race. Because really, Evans is racing against the likes of James Coleman, isn't he, in the Porsche element of it. The two series joining together here at Donington Park today. As Ian was saying earlier, they will race separately. There's Marcus Bicknell, aka Joey Logano, in what is a NASCAR. So we've seen that race at Rockingham. That was 2 decades ago now as well, wasn't it, when that series run?
It was, and yeah, dressed up very nicely in an appropriate livery. So
Joey Logano was the winner of the NASCAR dirt race.
He was
7 days ago. I think that was done on Monday in the end.
Yeah, it was. That was delayed, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's Evans, though, our erstwhile race leader. Matt Holborn's in the pit. Is he just going out of the pit lane now? He is. So that kind of gives an indication how far Jonathan Evans is behind, and the new battle for the lead yet to stop, almost side by side into Redgate. If you look to your left there, side by side, the Cobra of Phil James is looking up the inside of Adam Southgate. As they go out of shot, is it the Cobra that's gone through? Well, they're still side by side as they go onto the Craners. The Cobra will have more power than the Porsche Boxster when he goes through. So Phil James does lead this race. He had to take a couple of cars to pit for that to happen, but he has there into Redgate got himself ahead of Adam Southgate.
Yeah, but not by very much. Adam Southgate in the SPDA class for cars that used to race the Porsche Racing Drivers Association Championship. They've been welcomed into the Calm All Porsche Trophy. Really, that's just something that should have come about for 2020, but the COVID-19 pandemic really blighted the season for both categories here, the Burnley Sports Racing V8s and the Calm All Porsche Trophy, hoping for much better things in 2021, of course. So these the two leaders then, Adam Southgate in the number 45 Porsche and Phil James in the number 39 Cobra replica, as they drop down the hill and look in a straight line how the Cobra is just able to pull away from the Porsche, but under braking the Porsche closes right back up again and there's barely a length between them. And then look how that changes again as the Cobra gets back on the power down that short straight towards the Melbourne hairpin. So
that's what a 7-litre engine will do for you.
We're absolutely right. Now the TVR is between the two of them as well. I would think the Porsche will get past that relatively easily up at Goddard, so we'll have the battle for the lead rejoined, but these will both need to make a stop at some point in the next 8.5 minutes as well, because they have to make a driver change before 10 minutes to go. They've both opted to stay out this time, and the gap between them is 1.8 seconds, I think, between Phil James and Adam Southgate in second place. That's the order of things at the moment. James Coleman is there in third, but I think he's pitted, and Andrew Porter fourth as things stand at the moment.
Meanwhile, the two earlier leaders who have pitted, I think Jonathan Evans is something like 15 seconds behind Matt Holborn, so that'll be a gap to watch in the second half of this race. And the Cobra and the Boxster could sort of come amongst them, couldn't they, once they have made their stop in the next few laps. There is Matt Holborn after his stop. He is in 13th position, but that should flow through to what will probably become the overall leader.
12 laps have been completed then by Phil James in the lead of this race. There he is with the Porsches behind him. Then you've got the Matt Holborn car. There is car 28, which is Andy Baker's Boxster, and of the SPDA class cars. 11th he was before he came into the pit lane. Gets the tap on the wing and is sent back out again into the race. Efficient work being done by the various teams here. Get their cars out again as quickly as possible. So that's Baker back out into the race. Fantastic conditions for it here now, although very cold indeed. But otherwise a beautiful day at Donington Park for this Burnley Sports Racing and V8 series and the Calm All Porsche Trophy that you're watching via Alpha Live on YouTube, on Facebook and on the 750 Motor Club website, 750mc.co.uk/live.
Phil James has pitted in the leading Cobra to hand over to Cheng Lim. I can see that right underneath my commentary position. So that promotes Adam Southgate to the lead of the race. At the moment they're disinfecting the Cobra before Cheng Lim can get into it. He's doing so now, clambers over the roll cage of that car, and he will be fresh out in that for the final quarter hour of the race.
Still plenty more racing to come here, including the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup up next, featuring Jimmy Broadbent. And if you watching the live stream are here to see him out, he'll be out for his second race of the day shortly. As we watch Adam Southgate then heading down the hill towards the Fogarty S's. Holborn ahead of him on the road there, turning his way through the S's now. And And of course the order in this phase when the cars are making their pit stops is really jumbled up for the last 10 minutes of the race. It should make a bit more sense. Most of the cars have now made their stops. Southgate hasn't. I think Peter Samuel's still got to make his stop, and Andy Lambert as well, I think, also yet to make his stop. But the majority of drivers now have made their mandatory stops with about 5 minutes of the pit lane window remaining.
Cheng Lim has just left his pit box, and Matt Holborn's going to go through to be in front. So there's Holborn just going into Redgate, and if you look to the right of your shot, the Cobra will exit the pit lane, will be in net second position, so he'll be ahead of Jonathan Evans, who's at the top of your shot, just coming out of the Goddard hairpin. So I think on net positions, currently it's Evans from Lim from Evan. It's Holborn from James. I'll get it right in a minute. It's 56 Holborn, 39 Lim, and 36 Evans. But we've got to factor in the 45 Boxster of Southgate. Got there in the end, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely right. It will all become clear in the next few minutes anyway, as the drivers complete their pit stops and our TSL timing screens in front of Josh and I update themselves. You can see the Matt Carl-Henny, the yellow and black Porsche. Very smart livery on that one indeed, in an all Porsche battle there. And then you've got a couple of the front engine Porsches together. That's the 56 car of Tom McHugh coming through the 156 car, that should be. He's outside the top 20 at the moment, having made his stop, I think. Try and pick up exactly where he is at the moment. There's 25, which is the TVR of Bill Thompson, the driver from Preston in Lancashire. Now there's the Kodosh Corvette, having made its mandatory pit stop this time, now being released back out onto the circuit. Just going past one of the other Bernese V8s cars, Pete Samuels, and also the erstwhile race-leading Porsche of Adam Southgate as well.
Already gone through Matt Holborn into the lead of the race. Cheng Lim second. Jonathan Evans has gone through in third. Evans only 3.5 seconds behind Lim, and that's going to be a chase over the next few laps, you would think. The poleman, Jonathan Evans, then chasing. He's not going quicker than Matt Holborn, though, so I think Matt Holborn should be good to win this. And the one race these two categories did get last year on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, it was a TVR Tuscan that won then too, in the hands of Graham Walden, who's not out with us today.
Look at that.
There he is then, Matt Holborn.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at the background scrap as well amongst the Porsches. That's within the Walkers, and Carl-Henny was just in the background as well, which was worth watching, but for 20th position. There we are, there's that scrap just going over the crest in the hill now in the background. There's Holborn, as you say, up ahead. And he effectively then is the leader. There's the 35 car for the Craigers. Now that's quite a late stop, but they are not towards the top of the timer screen, so I think they've had problems as the race has gone on as well. Yeah, 25th they are, so possibly not a scheduled stop, and there's certainly some smoke coming off the brakes there, it would seem.
That's one of the Charles Ivy prepared machines.
Yeah, and Charles Ivy Porsche putting out a prize as well for the best turned out entry as well here today amongst the Porsches.
It'll be a difficult decision, I think. There's a lot of good ones. That's the 968 Club Sport, the 3-litre machine. Looks like it's going to get back out onto the circuit. Meanwhile, across the line, there's just been a change for second position because Jonathan Evans has got himself ahead of Cheng Lim. There they are, the Porsche down the inside and goes through them, but he is 17 seconds behind Matt Holborn, the leader in the TVR.
Yeah, and not lapping any faster really. On the previous lap, Holborn did a 1:47.7, Evans did a 1:47.5, and in terms of the best laps as well, Holborn a little bit quicker. So it will be a tall order for Jonathan Evans to make up the place to get the overall victory, but still certainly the fastest of the calm all Porsches. The Porsche Trophy running to support the campaign against living miserably as well. Very important charitable organisation. So there's the late race leader, Matt Holborn, in the TVR Tuscan Golf style livery. Flicks it through the fogs yeses and down to the Melbourne hairpin for the 16th time in this race, with just under 10 minutes of it left to go.
Notice Marcus Bicknell's up into 4th position, so he's had a good run in the ASCAR. He's 15 seconds behind Cheng Lim, but he has been lapping quicker. Cheng Lim fresh into that car, of course, so that may be a battle to watch. There's our overall leader, though, Matt Holborn in the TVR Tuscan Challenge car. That accelerates out of the Goddard hairpin for the 16th time, with 10 minutes of the race to go. And he's got one of the smaller TVRs to lap shortly as he turns his way into Redgate. And Jonathan Evans in 2nd position comes out of the hairpin and across the line. He should be across the line shortly. There he goes, 18.7 seconds behind the leader, so that gap continues to go out. What about 3rd and 4th? Cheng Lim to Marcus Bicknell. Across the line comes Cheng Lim, a 1 minute 52 from him. And Marcus Bicknell is quicker by, 3.5 seconds, the gap 11 seconds, so that is something that could change before the end. Marcus Bicknell chasing Cheng Lim for 3rd.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. That's a potential position change in the remaining 8.5 minutes of the race. Of course, there's lots of different classes in both of these categories, actually, and they're both done on power to weight. So within the Bernese Sports Racing V8s, the Class A is for cars of over 400 brake horsepower per tonne, Class B up to 400, and over 330, Class C up to 313, and Class D basically up to 260. And there's different thresholds in the Porsches. So the top class there is up to 240 brake horsepower per tonne, and then 200, 180 and 145 for the 4 classes in that category that are differentiated on power to weight. So various different classes being contested, and you can see the different colours denoting most of those on your screens on the timing tower. But overall, and leading the Bernese Sports Racing V8s, it's Matt Holborn, number 56, Jonathan Evans leading the Carmel Porsches, and we are watching the car in 4th position, number 22, Marcus Bicknell.
And he's chasing Cheng Lim all the time, and he looks up a bit, doesn't he, into the hairpin. Of course, this car wasn't really made to go right, was it? It only really made to go left at Rockingham. Very different discipline, but Marcus Bicknell making that car go well. One car that's not going so well is the TVR Tuscan there. Is that Bill Thompson's car, possibly? Yeah, I think he's just pulling off onto the grass, so hopefully he'll be safe there. Unfortunately, couldn't quite make it into the back entrance to the into the pits, which would have been ideal. You can see the pull off there at the front of shot. But, is that the old Grand Prix lane entry, I think?
That's right, yeah.
Where Senna made up some time.
Absolutely. So he's getting out of his car and will get to the safe side of the barrier just as soon as he can. And there in the pits is the number 74 car now. That is the Peter Carter car that was looking a bit smoky earlier on. So possibly not a major surprise to see that parked up in the pit lane, but it does give us a chance to admire it at least.
Across the line, the front of that group is Andy Lambert's Cobra, one of the 7-litre machines. He's in 25th position overall, 3.2 seconds ahead of the TVR Tuscan of Aaron Moyes, so they're not too far apart. Both Class A cars within Bernese V8, so those cars are over 400 brake horsepower per tonne. And coming through the middle of them is a Porsche, one of the classic front-engined cars. That makes its way through the old hairpin. But there's the 571 TVR that I mentioned of Aaron Moyes, who's in 26th position overall.
Yeah. We've got just over 5 minutes of the race left to go here. 18 laps have been completed by Matt Holborn. It's 18 seconds clear of Jonathan Evans overall. Let's watch the 16 car. That's the Lee Bolden car had a spin at the hairpin early on go through.
Across the line,
call.
nose to tail for third, so perhaps we'll pick that up in a moment. Cheng Lim v Marcus Bicknell, that gap has come right down to nothing. They're just heading onto the Craner curves, and they changed there. You can just see in your shot the Mustang liveried car of Marcus Bicknell has got himself into third position ahead of Cheng Lim. Marcus Bicknell, front runner in Clubman's in the past, wasn't he? This is a very different car, but it drives it very well indeed.
Yeah, certainly does, and it looks an absolute treat as well, doesn't it? Double waved yellow flags there. That I think is for the TVR that we saw pull off. There is the Marcus Bicknell car once again, and spin up is number 28. That's Andy Baker in the Boxster, and he will get the car turned around. You'll see that he does have the aero device on the back of that car. That's permitted for cars in the SPDA class, otherwise the cars have to run with their original silhouette. Same for Lee Bolden's car, you can see on screen there, the number 16 car.
Looks like we've lost Martin Reynolds out of 11th position. He hasn't come through, so we haven't seen where he's pulled off, but that is another retirement. But luckily there's not been too many of that. With 4 minutes to go, Matt Holborn's just gone on to another lap 20 of the race. The gap's slightly coming down now, 15 seconds to Jonathan Evans, but those top two drivers in the two different series are both set for a victory in each. Here's a couple of Porsches together. 59 is Jackie Gar and Lee Burkett's 968, and they are running in 10th position, but they have got a track limits penalty, which will put them behind the car that's chasing them on the road, which is Lee Bolden's Boxster.
Yes, he needs to pull out a 5-second margin to overcome that effectively in the remaining 3 minutes of the race. That'll be a tall order, one would think. That's really all about the battle for 9th and 10th position. Sounds like someone's had a spin. We could hear a squeal of tyres. We didn't see what was happening, but those two cars side by side. Ah, there it is. That is the 41 car then. That's the Carl Rossin Porsche 924. He was slated to be driving that car, showing with Sam Callahan.
It might well have been Sam Callahan that has put it into the gravel, unfortunately. They were running a bit further down in something like 30th position, but of course that's a much less powerful car than some of the others out there today.
Yeah, and yeah, there you can see it in the background of shot, that car, and it's steadily smoky smoke rising from it. 2 minutes to go in this race.
Matt Holborn just blasted across the line, so he should squeeze in 2 further laps.
Yeah, he should do, because he's lapping in 145s, isn't he, or 146s, and there's 2 minutes to go, so he should get 2 laps out of it. All being well.
There's a board being hung out over the start gantry. Not sure if that's a penalty board or a last lap board. So this could well be the last lap, because I don't see a flag with it.
Okay.
So perhaps we should treat this as the last lap of the race.
We'll keep an eye on that then, Josh. You can see that better than I can from my position. There's the race leader then, Matt Holborn. Probably shouldn't make too much difference to him unless he breaks down at some point, because he's 17.5 seconds clear of Jonathan Evans.
Out of shot, Adam Southgate's Porsche Boxster has got ahead of not just Cheng Lim but Marcus Bicknell too, to go third overall. So Adam Southgate putting in some good laps towards the end of this race.
Yeah, and he is in one of those SPDA class cars, so he's up into 3rd position overall. But let's focus for a moment on Matt Holborn. Here he comes, coming up to lap the Cobra of Andrew Lambert, just turning his way down into hairpin. Here's some action going on amongst the Porsches. There's Tom McHugh in the 56 car, running in, well, the 156 car I should say, running in 18th position. As we've got the leader, I think, having come through again. I don't think we've got the checkered flag though, Josh.
No.
So
there must be There must be a flag out with the board I can see, but I can't see the flag. There you go, look up there. That was Martin Glennie.
Yeah, and the car that was in his sights was Ryan Moan's Porsche 944, but fortunately he did manage to get the car stopped. So we are now working the final lap, Josh.
Absolutely, those cars then across the line. They are battling for position for 13th and 14th overall. Ryan Moan on that lap was being caught by Glennie.
Spinner, it's Marcus Bicknell from 4th position. And will that have cost him a position? I suspect it might have done. Did we see how that happened?
He had called out 17 seconds to Cheng Lim, so I think he's okay. Wonder if he was trying to chase back after Adam Southgate, who had passed him on the previous lap. So he's still in 4th, and in fact we've got a new 5th place car across the line. Christopher Ridge in his Tuscan has also passed Cheng Lim, so I think Cheng Lim's struggling. Yeah, his lap time was over 2 minutes last time by. So the Cobra seems to be in a bit of strife now in the second half of this race.
Absolutely right. As we watch Andy Lambert's car just turning its way through, we should somewhere see Matt Holborn in his Gulf Livered TVR heading through the final few corners as well. We'll try and pick him up because he'll be heading up towards the line very shortly. There he is, Jonathan Evans we saw a shot of as well. But there is Matt Holborn out of the Melbourne hairpin for the final time. He's still 16 seconds clear of everybody else. He turns his way through Goddard for the final time now. No one really around him to worry about, and up to the line he comes. The checkered flag will go out. It does so now, and it is Matt Holborn that wins the opening race of the season, the Burness Sports Racing and V8s.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ian. Down here with our race winner, which is Matt Holborn. Matt, you won the part of the race for the Sports Racing and V8s. How did you find that one?
It is just wonderful to be out racing again. So it's first race out this season, and it couldn't be better. I really thought it was going to be snowing this morning. Snowing this morning, and it's turned out to be a beautiful day. And just Donington, epic track, love it.
And you chose the right car. You got no roof, so that's good.
It didn't feel like it this morning when it was snowing, but yeah, good day, really good.
And as we said, you won the overall race, and also, yeah, you did, and you're part of the race in the sports racing.
Brilliant.
Before the pit stop, you were behind Jonathan, then you came out ahead, so you made up some time in the pit stop there.
Oh, excellent. I didn't know that. That is really good news. Fantastic. I'm ecstatic.
And you've got a great year ahead of you, some really good this year for sports racing.
Yeah, Burnies are a fantastic series to race with. Also, we race with CSCC, really well organised series, and yeah, fantastic. Looking forward to more club racing this year.
Good stuff. Well, you're done for the day. You can now go and enjoy the sunshine.
I can.
Well done, Matt. Congratulations. Well done to Matt there, who finished in first place. Let's grab a quick word as well with our second place man, and of course the winner of the Porsche part of the race. How did you find that, Jonathan?
Tiring. The off season's not been kind to me, so but no, it was fun.
You chose to do the race on your own. Is that a normal thing for you?
Yeah, I mean, I have actually got a teammate. We race in GTs together, but yeah, this was a bit of a last-minute entry, so I thought I'd have a go by myself. But yeah, 40 minutes is probably the max. I'm not sure how the guys do it in Club Enduro for 2 hours, but anyway.
Did you know where you were in that race? An idea that you were second, and of course the winner of the Porsches?
Yeah, I knew roughly where I was. I think I came out behind because I got an extra 30-second penalty in the success ballast in the pits, which I'm not sure Bernie's ran. So I think, yeah, we were about 18 seconds behind the leader, so one of those things. But yeah, good result anyway.
And I think there were some points throughout that race that you started to close the gap down on Matt, but of course traffic being a big part is trying to pick the right way through, really.
Yeah, the traffic wasn't too bad. Actually, a lot of the guys that I came through, quite a few novices, were absolutely brilliant, very aware, really good racing. 3 or 4 people must have literally put their arms out the car and waved me past, which was great. It was more the car and the tyres going off, frankly, I think. So, but no, we made it round anyway.
Well, you got the season off to a great start with a win, and fingers crossed we get the whole season in this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope so.
Good stuff. Well done, Jonathan.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Thank you.
There we go then, race winners from both parts of the race there for sports racing and GTs with the V8s, and of course the all Porsche trophy as well. We'll look forward to them next time out, but on the way next is the second race from the MX-5s, which are ever eventful earlier this morning.